morning, afternoon, or evening everyone. My name is ShockWavee and today I want to make a quick Nautilus guide just to help you guys out to be able to get better with the Nautilus. This is one of my favorite weapons in the game, so I just want to share some tips for you guys on this weapon because it's quite a unique weapon in the Splatoon class, so I thought I could give you guys a hand. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, or I stream every Tuesday and Thursdays from now on, and every so often on the weekends on my Twitch. I'll leave obviously a link in the description below, and I also have a Discord server, so make sure to get in there, ask any questions you have. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Alright, so let's get straight into it. Basically, for the Nautilus, we have two variants. We have the 47 and the 79. The 47 was the original one that has point sensors and baller as the special, and then the 79 has a suction bomb and an inkjet for the special. In my opinion, I prefer the 79 variant over the 47 just because of the suction bomb on the 79 allows for way more bomb pressure rather than the point sensor that doesn't really do too much. And the inkjet over the baller obviously again allows a lot more pressure on the opposition side compared to a baller, even though you can kind of distract with a baller. It's kind of 50-50 there. If you really like the baller over the inkjet, then go ahead, you can use that, but just in my opinion, if you combine that with other specials in inkjet, it can be way more devastating for when you're making a push or trying to defend. Next, for the gear I would use, obviously have pictures on the screen for what I use on my Nautilus, but anything with run speed and main power up, those are mainly the two gear abilities you want, and then obviously you can change up from the 79 to the 47 if you want special power up for your inkjet, so it's easy to kill someone, just little things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Movement, I'll get into that now. Basically you have your hold charge function, so only the charger class originally had that, but now this is the first Flatling that has this. So you're obviously able to hold a charge like any charger can. That's a bit of a tongue twister. And you're able to pop out the ink with your full or half charge, whatever it might be, and fire at will. So this can be a really good tool to use as surprise attacks when you're hiding behind a wall. You kind of climb up the wall with your whole charge and then you just fire. Yeah, so kind of like an ambush kind of thing. So this really opens up a lot of options for the Nautilus to be able to get kills or just apply pressure to the opposition team. Along with this, you obviously just have the normal Splatling functions of just being able to charge up your shot and then unleash. With this movement and mobility, it relies on paint a lot. Even though it paints decently, it just relies on a lot of paint, so you got to watch out for what your team's comp is and the opposition's weapons are, and you need to identify if you actually have enough paint, if you should be focusing more on kills if you have enough paint, or if you need to be painting more yourself. So that's just something to keep in mind because the weapon does rely a lot on map control. So yeah, that's basically everything under the mobility and movement of the weapon. So some aim drills, basically just hitting the targets. And one thing I like to practice as well for your whole charge function is you paint a wall in the training room and then you swim up the wall and then you kind of fall off to the right side and then you try and hit a dummy as you're falling down and try and track it as you're falling. So this really helps because most of the time when you're going to be using a whole charge, you're going to be jumping off a ledge or something and then you're going to be falling down and you need to be able to track the opposition as you're kind of falling down, just to practice that instead of just tracking if a opponent is moving left or right. It's good to be tracking when you're falling, when you're moving, to be tracking that opponent, being able to get every shot you can off on them. And then obviously just your basic shooting drills and knowing how long you can hold your charge for and just hitting the dummies up, and obviously practicing your inkjet as well. This is very key. With an inkjet you want to be predicting if your opponent's moving, predicting their movement if you're from a certain distance away. So using your inkjet on the dummies to the left of the training room where the three dummies are kind of moving at different speeds, practicing aiming in front of the dummies and predicting their movement. That's very key with inkjet. Yep, so that's basically all your aim drills done. And then just for when you're in games, knowing your matchups is really important. I'll have a little list up on the screen from, I think Bagel created this. So this list just basically shows you the weapon's strengths and what the best matchups are for the weapon. So what I mean by this is when you're in a 1v1, kind of like what your odds are of winning that fight if you're both shooting at each other. So basically anything that has shorter range, you're gonna have a better chance at. Anything with longer range, like a charger, a bamboozler, another splatling, you might struggle against, so you might want to kind of avoid those fights. So this is basically just what this list is going to be showing you, and obviously anything towards the top, that's going to be a hard matchup for a Nautilus. Anything down the bottom of this list will be somewhat of an easy matchup. You're still obviously going to be able to die if you're not careful, but yeah, just something to keep in mind when you're playing this weapon and when you're in the game taking 1v1s, helping teammates out, how your weapon goes against other weapons. Alright, so next I want to talk about your role as a Nautilus player. So this really comes down to what your team's composition is. If you're going to be the longest range weapon, you kind of want to be playing a bit more passive and not going up aggressively and taking fights. You want to be kind of assisting your teammates from a distance and just kind of playing a bit more around the objective. So riding the tower, not necessarily always picking up the Rainmaker, I guess, if you're in a certain situation where you have to, because the Nautilus has such good killing power and like its DPS is so high. It's better if you're still able to use your main weapon, and especially since you have Inkjet as a special. But for the other modes, obviously you need to be helping out with the objective and whatnot. This obviously if you're the longest range or like equal to longest range weapon on your team. But if you already have a backline, just say you have a charger for example, you kind of want to be what I would say pairing up with someone, preferably a frontline, just assisting them and kind of following them around. So you're basically still not always engaging in fights, letting someone with a shorter range weapon, like just say normal splatter shot, engaging in a fight, and then you kind of come in and you assist them and help them out. Basically what this does is it allows you to stay alive and hopefully just create a lot of 2v1s because you have a lot of range, and then obviously you put bomb pressure, special pressure if you got ball or inkjet, whatnot. So it can be a really useful tool just as like a clean-up weapon. I would almost describe it as. You're not always taking fights, obviously if you have to in a dire situation or the killer's there and you take the fight. But yeah, you shouldn't really be engaging in obviously 2v1s. If the matchup is good for a 1v1, go ahead, take it. But if you're trying to approach a backline, probably don't do it yourself. Try and wait for some help because you don't have the best matchup against long range weapons just because of its mobility, and you're kind of stationary a lot of the time unless you're swimming. If you're running, you don't have a lot of mobility. That's why we kind of use a bit more run speed, but even then you have little to no mobility when you're running. Alright, the last thing I want to touch on is obviously this video won't make you an absolute god or a pro at the Nautilus. The only way you can get better is thinking about some of these things I've talked to you guys about, and then obviously watching other good Nautilus players play. I'll leave some links to their Twitch or Twitters in the description below that I know of, and obviously myself, I would consider myself a decent Nautilus player. I think I have like 5 million turf on it, with like 2,000 plus wins, something like that with the weapon. So I have a good amount of experience with it, but I know there's still other Nautilus players that are better than me. So make sure if you really want to get better with Nautilus, go to watch them and how they play, ask advice from them as well. I'm obviously not going to have every little detail about the weapon in the world. So there's obviously going to be other people that have different opinions on the weapon than what I do. So obviously go watch their videos, watch how they play, go talk to them, discuss, and everything like that. Alright, that's about it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Join my Discord, and obviously stream every Tuesday and Thursday, every other time on the weekend when I'm playing a tournament and whatnot. So come tune in, ask any questions you have. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So have a good morning, afternoon, or evening. I'll catch you in the next video.